Welcome to another episode of the Hardware Connects product showcase. We're going to be looking at the Thermaltake Element S, the latest mid-tower chassis from Thermaltake. Lately, many of the cases to hit the market have really attempted to redesign the traditional case into more of a work of art or even a sculpture of sorts. With the Element S, Thermaltake intends to bring the case back to basics. The look and feel of the case really gives off a simple yet modern design, and it has the price tag to reflect that. Thermaltake also promises that this isn't just another boring box, and that the options it provides really covers almost any use from gaming to server. Looking at the dimensions, it fits well into the mid-tower category. It's 9 inches wide, 20 inches tall, and 21 inches in length. The case weighs in at a modest 22 pounds, mainly due to its solid metal construction and relatively minimal use of plastic. The front door is about the only piece on the Element that has any color. For the most part, the outside is a softer matte black, and the red trim on the front adds just that little bit of elegance. The door opens to reveal a covered and meshed panel, and at the bottom, a single 120mm fan with an optional slot for a secondary fan. For the front ports, we have the usual. There's 2 USB, 1 eSATA, HD audio, and then power reset and activity LEDs. Also on the top panel, situated directly over the motherboard, is a large 230mm exhaust fan. It spins fairly slow at 800 RPM, so it's incredibly quiet. The side panels are nearly identical on both sides. No fancy windows, no crazy designs. There are 2 simple air intake slots. There's also another version of the case, and it adds a second 230mm fan on the outside panel, which is better suited for those who need serious airflow. Jumping to the back, we have a fairly typical layout. At the top, an exhaust point for the 230mm top fan, as well as another 120mm exhaust fan. Just below that, there are 2 optional areas for 60mm fans, for those who are comfortable with the noise, and 7 expansion slots. The case has a bottom-mounted power supply and 2 holes for water cooling tubes. Moving to the interior, a quick analysis of the edges of the side panels, and we see rubber strips have been added around the edges in order to reduce vibration and noise. A relatively simple addition that makes a big difference. Opening it up, there really isn't a speck of any color except black anywhere on the case. Our bottom-mounted power supply has its own little chamber with plenty of room to fit most longer power supplies and to keep wire clutter down to a minimum. The cables can also be run underneath the hard drive bay through a hollow opening. It's great for storing cables. There's also a bottom vent for airflow, and while it may be difficult to see, the chamber piece actually has rounded edges, as does the rest of the case, in order to keep wires and fingers safe. If necessary, the chamber piece can be easily removed. Looking at hard drive bays, for such a compact case, it's nice to see so much room. There's 7 3.5-inch bays in a toolless removable tray, and the airflow design allows for excellent hard drive cooling potential. An incredibly unique feature of the Element that you really don't see elsewhere is that Thermaltake had the foresight to include SSD drive bays on the removable power supply chamber. Moving up to the drive bay area, you can see the compromise that was made in order to achieve so much hard drive space. There are only 3 5.25-inch bays. As we turn to the motherboard tray, there's support for MATX and ATX. Thermaltake has done an absolutely top-notch job with the layout of the area. They have angled cable openings through the tray over the areas where connectors are most likely to attach to the motherboard and other accessories, as well as openings to the far right for side-facing SATA connections and other plugins. And to top it all off, they have included the coveted opening for heatsink backplates found on practically all heavy heatsinks. About the only thing the tray is missing is the fact that it's not removable, which for some very particular individuals is apparently a highly valued asset. And at the top, our 230mm fan, situated directly over the CPU area, a perfect position for drawing out the warm air. Installation and wiring in the Element S is incredibly easy. The construction and design of the case allow for not only very clean wiring, but it really helps to cut down on the time spent on installation. In the end, even a novice system builder is going to be able to wind up with very few cables cluttering up the middle and hindering airflow. Speaking of airflow, air is pulled in through the fans on the front as well as through the openings on the side. It's then dispersed through the fans on the top, the back, and bottom of the chassis. It's a fairly typical flow design, but with the number of fans moving air, circulation and heat should not be a problem. Installation of most every component is fairly standard. However, for the hard drives, Thermaltake has opted for a simple toolless design. Special thumb screws are used to slide the drive into the grooves, and it locks into place with a clip. The rack itself then fits back into the case and held in by more thumb screws and more clips. As we rotate around, you'll notice how the hard drive bays are inset, allowing for cabling up the back of the chassis. The ATX tray also has the perfect amount of room between it and the side panel for relatively thick cables to be run across without hassle. And so, that about wraps up the Element S product showcase. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we encourage you to click that little yellow button up in the top right corner there and subscribe to receive future video updates. Also, if you have any questions or comments regarding this video or future videos, please feel free to post them in the YouTube comments page. And don't forget to visit www.hardwarecanucks.com for all the latest computer news and reviews. Thanks for watching.